Just for our little, to take a breather here, here's some folklore, enjoyable folklore about angels. According to an American folk saying, when babies smile in their sleep, they are listening to the voices of angels. Okay? This is important, so don't forget that. Now, have any of you ever in your own family history been familiar with this expression? An angel flew through the room. Anybody ever hear that? An angel flew through the room. Have you heard it? What's happening when you say an angel flew through the room? Okay. When you're visiting with your friends, you ever had that and all of a sudden conversation stops? Nobody's talking for a second? An angel flew through the room. Yeah, that's folklore, probably familiar with some national groups. You know, you have that, like you're busy talking and suddenly everybody's quiet at once. You sit there for maybe 5 seconds. Angel flew through the room. Pardon? Oh, is that right? She says usually when in what she was taught, when that happens, it's either 22 or 20 after the hour. No, okay, we'll check that out. We'll do a little research on that. Now here's another one that's really I love this one too. If I can find this. Angels flying through the room here. But, okay, I can't find where it's written, but that's all right. I can tell. Oh, here it is. It is said, and it is true, that just before we are born, an angel puts his finger to our lips and says, "Hush, don't tell what you know. Hush, don't tell what you know." And this is why we are born with a cleft on our upper lip, and remembering nothing about where we've come from. Don't you like that? I like that. That's the mark of the angel right there. That's great. Here's one more. How our sins are washed away. A demon holds a book in which are written the sins of a particular person. An angel drops on it from a vial one tear which the sinner had shed in doing a good action, and her sins are washed out. That's how it goes. The tear that you shed doing something good, caring for somebody, loving for somebody, feeling for somebody. Okay, now moving on to this rather heavy topic of fallen angels. Where does the idea of fallen angels originate? Now before we get there, I want to go back because I had a leftover from last week. James 3 verse 17, which is way back in the New Testament, after Hebrews. James 3:17. If you're working from the back, it's before all those short little books like Jude and 1 John and Peter and before Revelation. James 3:17. Now with this verse, the value of this verse is that it tells us the nature of the message that angels will bring to us. Just want you to hear it. The wisdom from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, willing to yield, full of mercy and good fruits, without a trace of partiality or hypocrisy. So when we wonder what can angels bring, this gives us a hint that the message of angels is going to be positive. Now, this does not mean, see, like with Marilyn Weber, she got news that she had cancer, and that was you must not call that negative news. It was important news, but it wasn't condemning or negative in the sense of putting a person down or back or insulting a person. Now, if you grew up as a Christian, you probably have always known about the fallen angels, right? That Satan is a fallen angel. You always knew that. And yet, you probably don't realize that it hardly says anything about that in the Old Testament. So what we are to conclude is that the people of Israel, the Jews, didn't know about it. Either they didn't know about it, or it was so much a part of their understanding that they just took it for granted. Obviously, they knew about good and evil. They knew that there's the powers of good and evil. They knew, of course, the Torah begins with the temptation in the garden, and there's clear evidence of the power of the tempter, Satan, the devil. That certainly was a part of their life. But there's no evidence that they knew much or anything about the conflict, the fallenness of angels. It's not in the Old Testament. I was surprised to realize that. But if you grow up a Christian, you grow up with some information that doesn't really get very clear until the very last book of the New Testament. There it's clear, but up until then, it just is kind of referred to here and there. Now, Job 4:18 hints at it. He says, if God places no trust in his servants, if he charges his angels with error, talks about that reference, how much more, and then he goes on to about human beings. So there is a reference to it, but there's no reference to really the fallenness, the fallen experience. So when you look for this, you'd probably want to start at the Old Testament, but it's not there. Because you think, well, here's a concept that starts way back in Genesis. Certainly it must talk about that back there, but it doesn't. I'll share with you a few references that are there about it, but it's not until Revelation that it really gets clear. In Matthew 25, verse 41, Jesus says, then he will say to those on his left, depart from me, you who are cursed, into the eternal fire, prepared for the devil and his angels. Well, that's a pretty graphic scene, that there's some bad angels. Very clear that there's bad angels. 2 Peter 2, verse 4. For if God did not spare angels when they sinned, but sent them to hell, putting them into gloomy dungeons, well, he says, be aware. So there's a strong reference to the fallenness of angels. Jude 6. Jude is one of those little tiny books way at the end. And the angels who did not keep their positions of authority, but abandoned their own home, these he has kept in darkness, bound with everlasting chains for judgment on the great day. Well, that's a pretty clear picture, too. This boundness is a really fascinating concept. Have any of you read the books by Frank Peretti? What is the name of these books? This Present Darkness. Have any of you read these books? This Present Darkness, some of you have? No. Okay, next week I want to comment about the theme of those books. See, the theme of those books, and those books have become very popular in the Christian world, and they're very, very interesting, very helpful, and yet he posits, these are fiction, His thesis is that we are in a battle. We are in a battle of light and darkness. And that unless we are vigilant, praying people and fighting, this battle may be lost. Now, that's a pretty scary scenario. I think there's a little error in it. I don't mean to downplay it, but see, when we read verses like this about boundness, and when we read what Jesus says about the kingdom has come, I think the battle's over. The battle is already over. Not that there's no problems, not that we don't have to fight, but I do not believe the outcome of the battle is in question as far as who's going to win the battle ultimately. And I think that's a point that is not clear or comes out the other way in those novels. I'll say more about that later. Okay, the final one is Revelations 12:7-9, and this one is the most powerful one. Revelations 12:7-9, and this is in the vision of John. And war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon. The dragon and his angels fought back, but they were defeated, and there was no longer any place for them in heaven. The great dragon was thrown down, that ancient serpent who is called the devil and Satan, the deceiver of the whole world. He was thrown down to the earth, and his angels were thrown down with him. So there is what they call the classic passage that really describes that event. And most of us, if you grew up a Christian, you knew all about that. You probably never knew that that's where it was. You probably thought it must be way back in Genesis somewhere. But this was a later revelation, and the Jewish people didn't know about it. Okay, any comments or questions about that? Yes. Who? Yeah. Yeah. I don't see the problem. You're thinking of a problem I don't see. Yeah. Yes, that's already happened, of course. Yeah. 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 Right. Yeah. Well, see, just because I'm not positive, but just because we don't get the story until Revelation, that's when it's explained. But that happened back in history, way beyond time. But what John sees happened, eons before. So Satan shows up in the Garden of Eden in the form of a serpent, but he's all around, all through the Old Testament. He's around. Oh, I see. No, he's not able to go to heaven. He's already kicked out. He's already kicked out, but he's able to talk to him. Is that what you mean? Okay.
All right. So we gotta get up, man.
Well, I'll accept that, and that further strengthens this idea that Satan is under the power of God, and God allows for some time some of these things to happen, I guess, but that God really has the upper hand, but He does allow for Satan for the time being. Yes. They're still around, yes. They're still here too. Yeah, no, they're all around. They're both around. We have the good angels and the bad angels to contend with. The good angels show up here and there, now and then, in various forms, and the higher ones, the higher angels, the higher orders of angels stay with God. They are praising God all the time. The angels that we encounter are the lower angels. So Michael probably doesn't show up anymore very much himself, but the lower angels are the angels that we read about in these stories. The higher angels are full-time praising God. And Michael and the negative angels are the ones that give us plenty of problems. But they are not going to... Pardon? Michael's a good angel. Satan's the bad angel. Well, I think Michael's with God. Michael's in the presence of God, has higher orders, and Satan's probably the lower angels of temptation are not Satan personally either. Satan's probably got bigger things to do than you and me. That's a real problem, isn't it? Yeah. Well, I have problems with that too. Giving God the responsibility for all the bad things that happen. I think the best responsibility rests with human beings, even beyond angels. Was there another comment or question? Yes. Yeah, good, thank you. She named the other names for Satan, Belial, and what are they all? Okay. Okay, good. So they're all named there. We're not going to do a lot more with them. We're going to stay on the positive side, but we had to touch them a little bit. But we're going to get back to the good angels next week. We'll have a lot of wonderful things. We're running out of time, unfortunately, both today and next week's the 5th week already. And there's so much more exciting things. Here's your trivia assignment for the week. Excuse me? Is this the 4th week? Trivia assignment. How do angels get up and down from heaven? Well, you have to look this up. What? How do angels get up and down from heaven? Ladders, right. Now you gotta find where it says, where she's coming from. How does she know it's ladders? All right, have fun in your small groups. You can expand that question.